Hello there, collectors, hobbyists, card enthusiasts, and people who can appreciate the finer things in life. I'm Mike Provenzale, the production manager at Heritage Sports, and tonight our winter card auction is closing. Session 1, bidding will begin at 10 p.m. Central Time with a 30-minute countdown clock, and then we have Session 2 tomorrow night. So we are going to be talking about some of the highlights, some of our favorite items, some of the cool stories in the auction. And for people that tune into this show often, you may notice I'm not in our studio. I am in our Chicago office, our beautiful Chicago office. We had a preview here of our upcoming Platinum Night auction, which will be launching this weekend, and had some of the highlights that we'll be talking about in the next few weeks on display here. If you live in the Chicago area, feel free to stop by our Chicago office. So Tony is traveling also. So we're in 2 different locations. We're not going to have that in-person charisma me and him usually have, but I think we're going to get through. Tonight is an amazing sale with some of the coolest and most iconic cards in the industry, finding new homes, and we're going to talk about them. And of course, where to start but the Babe Ruth rookie card. This first one is a 1916 M1015 Babe Ruth rookie in an SGC 5.5, Pop 1, none higher. What more can you say? Babe Ruth rookie card, Pop 1, none higher. That's all it takes, really. But one of the more iconic cards in the industry. You know, it's a little less recognizable, I would say, than the T206 Honus Wagner, the 52 Topps Mickey Mantle. But when you're talking Babe Ruth and you're talking cardboard debut, really, it doesn't get more important than that. This next one caught my eye because I'd never seen it before, and perhaps many of you have not. This is the 1909 E254 Colgan's Chips Stars of the Diamond complete set, 289 cards there. You get the whole thing. Now, of course, everybody is very familiar with Colgan's chips, one of the most popular brands of chips still today. And everybody just loves that violet flavor they have. That's right. Violet chips, ladies and gentlemen, from the now defunct Colgan's Chip Stars. But before they went out, they created a really unique set. And this is one where you don't have to worry about corner wear. They have the round surface there. It's got all the stars. The Honus Wagner you can see right there in the upper left. But this is the #1 current finest set on the PSA registry. And nearly all of these cards have single number pops. It's a very rare set. And this is a completely graded #1 set here. So very excited to see what happens with that one. You rarely see them come up for auction. And this is the finest one you could get, the best set, totally complete and PSA graded. Up next, now you know we're not going to have a closing show without talking about a 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle. It's one of the most iconic cards. It's been a huge story in the industry forever, but we're not going to talk about some high-end, high-graded, supreme example. We do have that in this auction, if you're looking for it. This one here I brought up because it's a PSA Pour 1, a very low grade. And this is just to show the power of the 52 Topps Mantle and how iconic it is. Right now, this PSA 1 is at $23,000, and we haven't even gotten to extended bidding. Over the last few years, the extended bidding for 52 Topps Mantles of all grades has been very active and very competitive. So we're definitely going to see some fireworks for this one tonight. But the way things have changed for a card that was always very valuable, but now even in the lowest grade, they've become 5 figures and moving up into the mid 5 figures too. We've had some huge results for 52 Topps Mantles lately in PSA 1s, in just authentic even. It's the card everyone wants, and not everyone can afford a 7-figure card, myself included. So people will take just that iconic image, even though you can see it's a bit obscured, but it's a card everyone needs in their collection. And we've got several different grades of it in the auction tonight. Whatever level you're at, you can add an important piece of the hobby to your collection. Next, this is one of my favorite and one you rarely see as well. We've been lucky to have a few of these cards offered in our auctions in the last few years, and we've got one again tonight. This is a 68 Topps 3D Roberto Clemente. This one's a PSA 7. 1968, this was the height of cardboard technology. If you've seen one in person, the 3D effect looks great, very impressive for 1968. Although for technology, the next year we put guys on the moon. So maybe this is the most impressive technological advance of the 1960s, but in my opinion, it's right up there. So this is essentially a test set. It was never sold retail. So very few have even made it out of the Topps offices, and it's kind of a mystery how they did, but I'm glad they did. And it's a very interesting set, the 68 Topps 3D. Beautiful to look at, of course, and Clemente is the key card. So this Clemente is going to be joining a new collection tonight as well. Up next, a huge soccer entry. Proud as a Dallasite to say that the next World Cup final will be in our home city, Dallas, along with our world headquarters. Exciting news. So I brought this up. This is the 2014 Panini Prism World Cup Soccer Signatures. This is a complete set, every card PSA graded, really important set. This is one that really shifted things in the hobby and brought light to soccer and the most popular sport on the globe. And it is a very high quality product. And for soccer, that was kind of a new thing. And they went all out, and it is a beautiful set. 50 cards feature 50 luminaries of the pitch. Of course, you got Pele, Ronaldo, Messi, Beckenbauer, just amazing with an autograph from each, incredible photos, a high quality product, and totally PSA graded. The consignor even provided a special case for it. So a lot of bells and whistles on this set. It's one of my favorite soccer sets, and I expect a lot of competition for this one tonight as it closes. So reminder, 10 p.m. Central Time, extended bidding will begin, the 30-minute countdown clock. And I know everybody out there saying, Mike, where's Tony? Enough Mike, give us some Tony. We'll have good news for you. Tony's got a few things to say, of course. Tony, what's caught your eye?
Thanks, Mike. Great stuff as always. The first one I'm going to be talking about here is a 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle. Of course, this is the holy grail of post-war cards. This one right here is a PSA 1, and usually when you think of PSA 1, you think of, really low grade. But this one here, although it's a PSA 1, is one of the nicer ones I've seen. On this one, the main selling point is the centering. It's just gorgeous on this card, and right now it is at $30,000 ending tonight, which is amazing to me. I remember when this card was a fraction of that. I remember when PSA 1s were $7,500. Now they've gotten to be $30,000. And what sets this one apart from most of them is the centering, which is just outstanding on this example. And following that, we've got a 1954 Hank Aaron Johnston Cookie card, SGC3. Of course, this was a regional issue in the Milwaukee area. And this card here, really tough to find these. Of course, it's quote-unquote a Hank Aaron rookie card. So anything early in his stay in Milwaukee is coveted. This one here right now, $3,100. Really nice example of Hank Aaron SGC3. But a really tough regional card, and I think it'll make somebody very happy to own this one. And following up that, 1963 Topps Stan Musial PSA 9. These cards are notorious for centering, as were all cards in the 60s. But if you look at the two bottom corners, that's where they typically show wear. This one here is really solid. Those blue borders chip quite easily. This one is one of the nicer examples that I've seen, and I think the centering is also really, really solid on this card. One of the forgotten guys, I think, in baseball history is Rod Carew, who is one of the greatest hitters of all time. Multiple batting titles, always in the mix for the batting titles in the American League. This is SGC9. Again, really hard to find this card in top grade centering corners. This one checks all the boxes. A really solid example of a Rod Carew rookie card, and to find this in top grade is difficult. We've seen a surge in his prices on his stuff. I think people are understanding just how good he was, and this is one of the nicer examples of Rod Carew's rookie card that I've seen in a long time. When I was going through the auction, you always look for something a little bit different, and this one here is different. Bart Johnson. Now, most people don't realize, you don't think of Bart Johnson as a big name, but the 1971 Topps series is the toughest of the 70s by far. Black borders, and they chipped quite easily. Hard to store these. Well, this is a Pop One, and anytime you can have a Pop One card, it's going to elevate you on the population. It's going to elevate you with the 1971 set. A lot of guys collect this set. It's a very popular set, but it's one of those quote-unquote holy grails that you just can't find some of these guys in top grade.
Oh, Tony, amazing stuff as always. So I'm back in Chicago, still in Chicago. A reminder for everybody, extended bidding begins at 10 p.m. Central Time tonight for Session 1. Session 2 is Saturday night, same rules, same format, and more incredible material. So talking about the highlights of the auction, we have to discuss this, one of the coolest items I've ever seen. It's a 1986 Fleer basketball uncut sheet. Fleer basketball is one of the most iconic sets, and as everyone in the industry knows, it has exploded even further in popularity in the last few years. And we've only sold 2 other examples of an uncut sheet like this. It's got all the important rookie debuts, of course, especially the Michael Jordan card. And this is a 132 card complete set. So you've got the whole set there. What an incredible display piece. 43¼ inches by 28¼ If you have a collection on display and you've got room on the wall, this is the one you need. And of course, the Jordan rookie number 57 is sharp and clean, no discoloration, blemishes, creases, or wrinkles on the front or back. So an incredible example. That's something, if you have it on your wall, in your house, in your office, wherever, when people walk in, even if they don't collect, they're going to say, what is that? Tell me about it. And so a little bragging and panache for your collection. Another great uncut sheet in this sale, really interesting one. This is 1950s Japanese Minko baseball cards, uncut sheets. There's 3 sheets here. So Minko cards were cards made in Japan in the 50s, and they were used for a card tossing game. So as you might imagine, very few survived. Each of our auctions will have maybe a handful of examples of individual Minko cards, and almost always they're in tough condition because they were used for a game. So this is uncut sheets. They're in great condition. You've got the 1950 Minko uncut sheet with 53 cards. It has Babe Ruth on it. There's a 34 card sheet, which you got the Kawasami Giants on that one. And then another 40 card sheet. It's 15 by 7. Just a great, interesting piece. Like with most uncut sheets, great display pieces. And this one's a real eye catcher. You can see how vibrant the colors are. And it's got some legends of the game from across the globe on it. So if you're looking for something unique, this is it right there. And then now we can't talk about highlights in an auction without talking about something from my childhood, something from many of your childhoods, I'm sure. A 1985 Topps Garbage Pail Kids Series 1 uncut sheet of 132 stickers. Garbage Pail was a huge cultural influence in the mid 80s. I was 7 years old when this came out, so a big factor for me. Of course, my favorite is Mad Mike, which is included on here, but you've got all the classics: Atom Bomb, Evil Eddie, Scary Carrie, Thin Lin. whichever one is your favorite, it's here. And this is another one that people are just going to ooh and ah over if they see it in your collection or on your wall. They're going to look at each and every card, still in very vibrant condition. So spectacular piece that's going to find a new home tonight. Tony, sorry I've been hogging the mic. Back to you.
Bob Gibson, of course, he is one of the all-time great pitchers, pitcher of the 60s and 70s, kept the Cardinals in the pennant chase every year, it seemed like, multiple World Series titles. This is the 1971 Bob Gibson, and again, really solid corners, just a really, really stellar exemplar of this incredibly difficult card to find. Tony Gwynn, 1980s. You talk about Rod Carew in the American League. Well, this was the guy in the National League that won a ton of batting titles. Tony Gwynn, this card has always been difficult. Yes, they made a lot of the 80s cards, but this one is really difficult to find centered. Just a really, really difficult card. I had this card as a kid. Of course, mine wasn't centered. Right here is one of the nicer examples of Tony Gwynn's rookie card, Gem Mint 10 grade, a really difficult grade to find because this card is just extremely difficult to find. And if you look really closely, this was taken during spring training because he's wearing a high number. The Blue is wearing number 53. If you look real close, he's got a high number. And I know Tony Gwynn did not like this card from the angle that it's showing him from the backside. He wasn't a big fan of this card, but it's one of the better cards of the 1980s.
Tony, you never cease to amaze me. Incredible. Now, signed vintage cards have become a really hot commodity of late. And just rarity is a big part of it. But when that happens and you see a lot of big prices for a certain genre in the card, you see a lot more coming out and being made available. And we've seen that lately. And this auction is no exception. So I'm going to talk about a few of the signed vintage cards. And this is my favorite in this auction right here. Gorgeous example. This is a 1949 Bowman signed by Jackie Robinson with an 8 autograph from PSA. His Leaf rookie card is arguably the most important card in the hobby, but the 49 Bowman aesthetically is a lot of people's favorites, with Jackie smiling, that vibrant red background. And this is a great signature. So rare to have Jackie signed vintage cards. And this is one of the top examples we've seen. It comes to us from the Mike Greenbaum collection. Mike was a very forward-thinking collector in the 50s. He got vintage cards signed in person. He would track down the players after the games, before the games, and get his cards signed. And we have some really incredible signed vintage cards from his collection from the glory days of baseball in New York. There's Dodgers, there's Yankees, and there's Giants, and then some other players from outside of New York who are visiting the Big Apple. So if you're interested in acquiring or just taking a look at signed vintage cards, this is a great auction for that. We've also got a signed 50 Bowman Jackie Robinson. This one has a 6 autograph from Jackie. This is a Jackie example a lot of people like as well. The full body portrait, him swinging the bat. You got the stadium in the background. It's another very iconic, very popular card. Great autograph from Jackie as well. And he put it in a great place over there on the side. So a lot of people are going to be very interested in this one as well. Next is a signed 53 Topps Satchel Paige. Satchel Paige, one of the most popular and most charismatic people to ever participate in our national pastime, one of the oldest rookies in history, and 53 Topps is an adored issue. It has these incredible images of the players, and I love Paige's 53 Topps card, and you just hardly ever see Paige signed cards, period. So having this one for the 53 is a beautiful example. And it's not just baseball. This one is a 1966 Topps Bobby Orr rookie card. One of the most important debut cards in the hockey hobby, one of the greatest players ever. And you got to love the 66 Topps wood grain TV design. And another key here with signed vintage cards is or signed in the best spot possible and with a PSA 10 autograph. So he found the right spot right there below his head, the clearest portion of the card to sign, and he put an unimprovable 10 autograph on it. So a huge one here. I love seeing the expanding of the signed vintage cards when this craze started and they started to become more popular. A lot of it was baseball cards, and then we started to see some of the vintage basketball signed cards come out, and then now here's a huge hockey one as well. And then lastly here, we can't exclude Kid Dynamite, Iron Mike. This is an 86 Panini Super Sport, the Italian release of Mike Tyson, signed by the heavyweight champion who just announced he might be coming out of retirement. I'm excited to see that. And a PSA 9 autograph from Iron Mike. The card's an 8 as well. So a fantastic example from one of the best to ever get in the ring. And then he's also become a very culturally important figure with his appearances in movies and pop culture. And he always seems to be popping up on social media as well. There's been a real renewed interest in Mike Tyson and his material, of course. And this is a Italian release with a beautiful autograph from the heavyweight champion. Tony, it's not a competition, but beat that if you can.
Up next, we have a recent find that was just consigned a few months ago. 1993 Topps Finest Baseball uncut proof sheet with 89 cards. These were found on the West Coast, and our consignor actually drove from the East Coast to the West Coast to pick these up. This is a new find. These have been untouched for 30 years now, and they're making their auction debut. Joining that is 1994 Topps Finest Baseball refractor sheet. Of course, the refractors are the most collectible of the Finest series, and here's an actual sheet of refractors, which is a one of one. And sheets have become really, really collectible through the years, and this one here is the first known that I have ever seen on that. So really, really cool item. We also have a lot of really nice signed cards in this auction. This one really stood out to me. Of course, it's a 1953 Bowman color Mickey Mantle. But if you look real close at this card, it's got a vintage signature. Probably 90% of what Mantle signed was post-career done in the 80s or 90s. This one here is a vintage signature. So the 53 Bowman, beautiful, beautiful set. This one actually includes a vintage autograph, which you very rarely see on this. Most of the ones he signed were post-career in Sharpie, which is great because not a lot of people got these signed. But this one was actually signed during the period 1953. Really cool example of that card signed. And we've seen a great increase in the value of Mantle signed cards recently. So really, really neat piece. Another one here. This one really stood out to me, the grade of the card. Most of the times when people got their rookie card signed, they would take a lower end example of the rookie card. Of course, the higher grade ones always had great value. This one here, it's Bob Gibson, which has always been a really difficult card to find in higher grade. This one here is a grade 8 with a gorgeous, gorgeous signature. So you get the high grade on the autograph and the high grade on the card, which is not very common. I think collectors are starting to take notice on these quite a bit. 1963 Topps. Pete Rose signs a lot of autographs. We all know that. He's in Vegas signing all the time. This one really stood out to me because if you look closely, it's got all 4 of the players which were featured on that card. One passed away a few years ago on this card, but a lot of times it's not just, a lot of these guys do a lot of shows. Some of these guys don't do shows, and you really have to chase to get their autograph. Rose signs a lot, but the other 3 kind of make this a really, really interesting card. I've seen the Rose signed rookie card many times, but not signed by all 4. So kind of a little different card in this auction, which I think is really, really cool.
You know, Tony, it's often said you're one of the great minds in the industry. And that thing you just said that I just heard you saying live is one of the most profound things you've ever said. Thank you for sharing. Up next, we have a really cool collection of unique basketball issue, the 1972 Icy Bear issue, which is rarely seen and rarely they come up for auction. But they are just as sweet as the confection that Icy Bear created. And this one, my favorite, Walt Frazier in a PSA Gem Mint 10, Pop 20 at that grade, but one of the most stylish and best players in NBA history, top 50 all-time player, and a New York Knicks legend, and an unimprovable PSA 10. And then, of course, if we've got an Icy Bear collection, we have to have Jerry West, also in a PSA 10. This is a Pop 19. Great image of Mr. Clutch here dribbling in the Lakers uniform, a PSA 10 from the Icy Bear issue. And we have a great collection. There's about a dozen, all PSA 10s. This is a nice, larger sized card, the Icy Bear, if you've never seen it, but a unique basketball entry. And this one in the collection is my favorite, the Dick Van Arsdale, also a PSA 10. This one is a Pop 4, but I brought this up because if you zoom in and move down, just a hint to everybody out there, if you're ever taking a portrait photograph and you're going to shave your neck, but you're wearing a basketball jersey, you got to keep going because you can see he's got the nice clean line right there, which if he was wearing a normal shirt would be fine, but with the basketball jersey, can give you issues. This is one I had never really looked closely at this card until we got this 72 Icy Bear collection for this auction. And this one really tickles me, I'll say that. Tony.
1975 Topps, Thurman Munson signed card. Munson was a tougher autograph to obtain. He didn't really like signing all that much, so to get him to sign wasn't as easy. Our consigner actually got this signed in person during spring training in 1975. Of course, with his early death, it makes his autograph quite valuable and on a card that a lot of people are completing these sets now. And this is a really, really nice example of a 75 Munson signed card. This card kind of harkens back to my youth, 1994. This is the Ken Griffey Jr. Mickey Mantle. This was one of the first autograph chase cards that I remember. Of course, I never got one in a pack, but this was the one. They only did a limited number of these. They did some that Griffey signed, some that Mantle signed. This one is a dual signed. So this is kind of from my era, from the 90s. This is the Holy Grail card. Really cool example, kind of passing the torch from one generation to the next. Mickey Mantle, Ken Griffey Jr. When I saw this 1970 Topps unopened box, it really kind of brought back memories of the 70s. If you look, the set was kind of gray and white, but the box, and this really stands out to me, screams 1970s, especially early 70s. A lot of nice rainbow of colors. Really hard to find unopened material from the 1970s. This being 1970, of course, this would be Thurman Munson's rookie card. So anybody looking for a high-end Munson or any high-end of any of the players, this would be a really, really good opportunity.
More incredible content from Mr. Tony Giese, ladies and gentlemen. Tony, always great to be with you on the show. Right, let's move on. So we have an incredible wax collection in this auction. A lot of great wax, but one collection in particular that our consignment director, Jason Simons, picked up, just an absolute treasure trove and a lot of items we had never seen before. And this one is included in that. This is a 1966 Topps baseball, second and third series partial wax box with 14 unopened packs. And look at it. That's art, people. Just beautiful, those vintage graphics. So this one is from the Adolph Herky Rupp Jr. collection. And that's right. He is the son of the famed Kentucky basketball coach, and he was an incredible collector. We're very proud to have his collection in our current auction, and we're going to have more items in our auctions moving forward the rest of this year. But this is just a beautiful one. It's the second and third series, and the box is in mint condition. It's gorgeous. 14 unopened packs in there. They have great color, fresh wax, and of course the gum if you were to open. But this is one I'm sure whoever buys it is not going to open. That is a time capsule, an absolute relic, and interested to see where that finishes up. It's the first one we've ever offered. So an exciting piece. Anyone who's watched the show or talked to me about wax before knows I love 1970s wax, all sports. That is my favorite era. And this next one falls right into my wheelhouse. 1973 Topps football. Look at it. Just gorgeous. Those graphics are unbelievable, and 24 untouched packs in there. This is the Franco Harris and Stabler rookie year. Some great 70s NFL luminaries in there, of course, and it's authenticated and sealed by Baseball Card Exchange. I'm just a huge fan of this one, and this is one of those things, a lot of times wax, the best aspect of it is the aesthetics, and this is a great issue, but the aesthetics and the beauty of the box, I think, is what's going to really attract bidders. It's just a great thing to have on display or on your shelf. And of course, we always have some great non-sports items, which is one of my favorite genres or corners of our industry. And like a lot of people out there, I'm a huge James Bond fan. I like the old movies. I like the new movies. I like the middle movies. And so when this crossed my desk, it really made an impression. This is a 1966 Philadelphia James Bond unopened wax pack. It is a PSA 7. A lot of people who collect in the non-sports and entertainment love that 66 Philadelphia James Bond issue. I am no exception, but the real attraction here is obviously the front of that pack with James Bond, Jetpack James Bond from the Thunderball movie poster, one of the best movie posters. You can find examples of that in our movie poster department, but perfectly encapsulated that not only is he capable, is he strong, but he's suave no matter what he's doing, including using a jetpack, which I could imagine Tony on a jetpack would not look this calm and collective, nor as handsome. No offense, Tony. No offense. Sorry. But very cool item here from the non-sports section. And of course, I'm going to highlight the Marvel item we have in the auction. This is a 67 Philadelphia Gum Marvel Superheroes stickers, 5-cent box. I'm a huge comics fan as well. And our incredible comics department is right across the hall from the sports department. So I'm always popping over there to see what they have, but love this one. Obviously, incredible box with those classic heroes on the front. And now one of the most popular and valuable IPs, thanks to the movies. But you've got all your favorites there: Captain America, Daredevil, Iron Man, Spider-Man, my favorite, and Thor. Just an incredible vintage piece. Another one, like a lot of this wax, that is just an absolute time capsule of an era. But this one's still relevant today with the MCU and Disney Plus. Very cool. And lastly, doesn't get much more iconic than this for modern hoops basketball. 86 Fleer basketball unopened pack. This one's a PSA 8. But what's key here, it's noted that the Jordan rookie is on the front. So with the 86 Fleer, if you look very closely, you can see a small bit through the wrapper to what's behind it on the front and back of the pack. So PSA labels them when they can confirm, and they confirm the all-important Jordan rookie is on the front. It's not on the back. The back would be the sticker. But yeah, card 57 is right there. And I love that you've got it noted on the label as well. Great one. All right. Enough of me hogging all the mic and the content here. Tony, the people want to hear what you have to say.
Jim Thorpe, 1955 Topps All-American. I love this set. So for many of these players, this is the only card they had. There's a 33 Sport Kings Jim Thorpe card, but this is a 55 Topps All-American. Gorgeous colors. I love the background of this, of the football stadium. Great centering, high grade. Really hard to find these cards in top grade. And this is a great example of Jim Thorpe, possibly the greatest athlete of all time.
Oh, Tony, you slay me. Awesome items you chose there. I'm got coming up next one of the most unique items in the auction. I had never seen this before. It's the 1935 Shooter Johnson. I'm going to be a strong man. So this issue from 1935 is called I'm Going to Be, and it had a bunch of different occupations, I guess you could say, future occupations. There's, of course, policeman, a baseball player, a boxer, pirate. Is that an occupation? Even in the early 1930s? I don't know, but Shooter Johnson thought so. So this one is another odd occupation to choose. I'm going to be a strong man. This card and that potential occupation obviously had a big influence on Tony, if you've seen his physique. But this is a cool one and it has a great backstory, similar to the 1933 Gaudi Lajoie. So when this came out, it was a 25 card set, and kids could redeem, if you got the complete set, you could get a prize, either a baseball mitt, a wristwatch, or a pair of roller skates, something kids today would even want. But the one problem was no one had this card number 4, the strongman. And similar to the 1933 Gaudi Lajoie, it's because the company did not release it for retail so they could cut down on how many prizes they would give away. Marketing ploy. So very few of these have come out. This one is a PSA authentic because you can see if you look at the back that it was voided. This was actually exchanged for the prize. Somebody got this card, turned in the complete 25 card set to Shooter Johnson. And this is one of only 2 examples in the PSA registry. It's the only example I've ever seen. You can see they also punched some holes in it as another way to further validate that it had been turned in. I'm sure they did as much as they could to void this card because this was the linchpin that everyone was looking for to get the prize. So very cool card here, one I've never seen, and one that if you add it to your collection, which it closes tonight, it's one that has a great story when you show it to people because they most likely are never going to have seen it before. Up next, another great complete set. We have a lot of great complete sets closing tonight and tomorrow. And this one's from one of the most important IPs ever created. This is the 1940 R145 Gum Ink Superman complete set. This is from a 72 card set. This is from the John Esch collection, which we've been selling pieces of his collection for a few years now in different auctions. And he always has A, incredible sets in great condition, and B, very interesting things you do not see very often. And this is a tough set to complete. So this set came out just 2 years after Supes made his debut in Action Comics #1 for DC Comics, 1938. So that's how quickly he became popular and already made his way into cardboard collectibles just 2 years later. Another one like the Marvel box we talked about earlier, that DC has their own universe that's keeping it all relevant. Of course, Superman comics still being released, but some beautiful examples here. And the set, of course, being a complete set, has my favorite where the Superman fights a shark. That's right. Hey, when you've got a guy that's invulnerable, you have to find interesting ways to find different adversaries for him. So why not go with shark, I say. And as is my want to do, keeping up with the non-sports and even comics items, we have an incredible piece of original art. So I mentioned earlier the sports office in our home office, our world headquarters in Dallas. The sports department is directly across from the comics department. Our comics department is the best in the world, and they have had some amazing A, items and B, results for original art recently over the last few years. I'm also an auctioneer and I call their auctions, and I've had the pleasure of calling some iconic original art pieces. And this is a great comic book original art that was a baseball card issue. This is from the 66 Topps Batman issue, a very popular one. This is card number 3, and this is the original artwork for it. And the thing here is that this is checking a lot of boxes for Batman fans. First of all, you got Batman and Robin, both of the dynamic duo there in the card. You've got the bat signal and the Batmobile included. So much that you'd want if you're a Batman fan. So this original art came originally from the Norm Saunders collection. He was the artist. There was a big discovery not long ago of his original art, but the person who discovered it has held on to most of it. Very few have come out, and this is the first time that this original art has reached the auction block. So excited to see what's going to happen with that one. And obviously, beautiful artwork, of course. All right, Tony. Last chance now to tell the people what you want them to pay attention to tonight in session 1 and tomorrow in session 2. Extended bidding, 10 p.m. Central Time tonight.
So 1992 Shaquille O'Neal debut ticket. Shaq, of course, number 1 draft pick of the Orlando Magic. A really big deal his whole career. This is a debut ticket. His first game, of course, played in Orlando. It was a big deal when he burst onto the scene. He changed the game a little bit, gave the game a little bit more fun, flair. A big guy who wasn't scared to be a big guy. And this is a great debut ticket signed by Shaq against the Miami Heat. Orlando won the game, and Shaq went off from there. Really interesting piece from early in Shaquille's career. Yeah, just want to thank everybody. Mike, great job as always. Production crew, Tommy, everybody did a great job. It's an amazing auction. A lot of great cards, great tickets, kind of nice sample from everything from, early in baseball to the current market now. There's something for everybody in this auction. So thank you so much to everyone involved, and thanks for bidding, and thanks also to our consigners.
As always, thank you, Tony. I miss being in the same room when we do this. I miss your musk, Tony, I must say. But an incredible auction closing tonight. Session 1, extended bidding, begins at 10 p.m. Central Time. And then we've got session 2 tomorrow with some more incredible items. Be sure to check it out. Thank you to everyone for watching. We'll be looking for you soon. We've got a preview coming up in our New York office in the middle of February 12th through 16th, to look at our platinum auction, which is going to include the Mike Bossy collection, the Red Arbok collection, and plenty more surprises that we'll be revealing this weekend. And we'll be at the Burbank show. You can see luminaries like Derek Grady and Lee Iskowitz there. Be sure to stop by. We're going to have our booth combined with some other departments from Heritage, including trading card games and entertainment, sneakers. VHS is going to be there. They're going to have some comic books as well, and slab graded vinyl, which is something that's becoming very popular now. So be sure to check us out if you're in the Burbank area or going to the show. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. A huge thank you to our team of 30 people, filmographers, lighting, grips, best boys that help put this show on. It is a huge ordeal, and we thank them for that. And as always, a huge thank you to our consigners for trusting us with your material, and good luck to all the bidders.